welcome to Connected episode 391. It's made possible this week by our sponsors, Squarespace, Capital One, and Memberful. My name is Stephen Hackett, and I'm introducing my friend and co-host, Mr. Mike Hurley.
Ciao, Stephen. How are you?
Hello.
I have the pleasure of introducing Federico Viticci to the show. Hello, Federico.
Hello. It is my pleasure. So, thank you.
That's just where the pleasure ends. The pleasure ends with you. Okay, cool.
Pleasure ends with Tichi.
The pleasure stops here. That's what I have on my desk.
Like a big brass plate.
I've got a question for you about Honor.
Honor the smartphone brand?
Yes. Which position in the new ordering, because we round robin the intros now, is it the most honor to be first, or is it the most honor to be last?
Last.
To be last.
Because first has to do most work.
That's true.
First has to be a corporate shill, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, I read the ads in it every time anyways.
You be just like the extra, you know. Person in the middle, they just do their thing, but the most honor, but like they still have to do some work, you know. The last person, they're like king of the day, you know, brought in on a little cushion or something.
King of the day. Federico likes the sound of that.
Yeah, no, and also like the last person is the one that people will remember, right? So that's why when you go to the movies and when you exit the movie theater, everybody's talking about the ending because the ending is what you remember. It is why I believe what was it called? I'm sure someone will correct me. So you guys know what's the English way to spell his name? Cicero, like the ancient Roman philosopher and speechwriter. Sure. There's the Ciceronian technique, which is like a public speaking technique, where essentially you want to cram your most valid points at the very beginning or at the very end, because like you got to leave an effect on people like that. So if we apply the Ciceronian technique to Connected, people will remember the first person in the intro, sure, but also, and very much more strongly, the last one. So, yeah, basically being in the middle is no fun.
Okay, so the last person has the most honor. The first person has the second most honor, and the person in the middle just out of luck.
Is the loser of the intro.
The loser of the intro.
Yeah, goes middle. Yeah.
Well, thankfully we round robin it, so it's someone else's turn next week.
If the person in the middle
you're the middle person.
Most
Let's just move on. Come on.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with it. But like, if they are the most forgettable, does it mean they can get away with the most stuff, but they're just forgotten about? Yeah.
It's hard to say.
But anyway, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We have some follow-up.
Please.
iFixit has taken apart their studio display. They had a pretty cute video they put up earlier today of people around their office trying to guess which was the inside of the studio display and which was the inside of the 24-inch iMac. Most people got it wrong because the studio display looks way more like a computer inside than the iMac does.
Yeah, it really does. Like in the image, just the side by side, it looks like the iMac has nothing important inside. Like there's a bunch of empty space and a bunch of just what looks like just metal plates. But the studio display is completely full.
It is. And the studio display is thicker as well by a healthy margin. So it's kind of fun to see inside of that.
If I was to call foul on this, though, like surely anyone focused on technology knows that the studio display isn't blue, though.
That was my problem with the video, but then I thought, well, maybe these people are like, I don't know, salespeople or accountants.
They work for iFixit.
They should have done like the stranger on the street kind of thing.
Yeah.
Stranger iMac danger. They talk in the video, you should go watch it, about all the components, how they come out. It looks like to change the hinge, which it's been reported that Apple will change the hinge for you if you go to an Apple store and you fork over some money. It looks like the process for that is taking apart the studio display so the glass is glued on like it is the iMacs. And then the screws that mount the hinge to the chassis are on the inside. So something that, someone who is comfortable with tools could definitely do, but it's not as casual as, say, the iMac Pro was, where it was kind of designed for you to change out the hinge on your own with a little tool set Apple gave you. That was pretty crappy, but at least it was not sealed inside.
When you're saying the hinge, do you mean the stand?
Yes. Sorry.
Like to a different thing? Or is this the studio display secretly fold in half? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, sorry. I mean, the adjustable one's kind of got a hinge, sort of.
Sure.
But yes, to change the foot. I'm sorry. Thank you for clearing that up. Have you had any shipping information on yours?
Oh, no, man. It was supposed to arrive between today and next week, and I've yet to be charged for it.
Yeah, it's not a good
So
sign.
it's not looking good for me. Not looking good. I keep checking the credit card statement, but nothing's happening.
I got mine. No, just kidding.
You kept that one quiet.
No,
Where's
no.
your computer?
What do you mean? Oh, no, not me.
Steven.
Okay.
No, not you.
So UPS said it was going to be here yesterday, but it was still in China yesterday. Now it says it's coming today, but it just got to Kentucky, which is a state away. So I expect to have it tomorrow.
Woo! Lucky you.
I'm really excited about it.
It's only going to take 2 weeks. 2 weeks to migrate the 16 terabytes of storage that you've got on that machine. I'm sure, you know.
So Kentucky is a real state.
It is just north of us.
Like it's not one of those movie states from America that you see like in TV shows and movies. Are like, yeah, it sounds like an American state, but does it really exist?
It's not like New Jersey or New York City. Those places aren't real.
Well, New York City is real. New Jersey, like from my understanding of American cinema, it seems like it's mostly like a joke. That like, oh, you go to New Jersey. It's like, is it like a fictional place? I never act like, and I'm serious. I never actually understood if New Jersey is real or not.
So the whole thing about New Jersey, like the reason that people make fun of it is like it tends to be people I think from New York that make fun of New Jersey because it's like, haha, you think
yeah.
you're New York, you know?
But
I'm
but
not
it's a
saying
real
anything
place.
about
It's not
New
like,
Jersey.
so it's
you
not
know?
like a fictional place. Like, oh, you go to New Jersey. Like it's not a made up thing.
No, it's a real state.
It's a real state, and so is Kentucky.
Yes,
Mhm.
I think the Kentucky problem is probably because of the fried chicken, you know?
Right. Yes. It sounds like a brand, but it's not like, I mean, it's also a brand, but it's also a state. And so is Arkansas.
Arkansas is definitely real.
Okay.
I am really looking forward to the moment when Federico says the name of a state that isn't real, you know?
I'm just going to let him think that it is.
like Ontario. Is Ontario a real state? Oh, no, it's not in America, though. It's in Canada.
Yeah, it's a province in Canada.
Okay. And but there's no so there's only North Dakota and South Dakota. There's no East Dakota, right?
There's not.
Okay. Cool. Just making sure.
Federico, do you remember the movie Garden State?
That's not a state. That's the movie with Zach Braff.
It
right?
is. Came out 2004. I'm skipping Mike in this conversation. I'll come to you in a second. But Federico, I feel like this movie would have really spoken to you when you saw it.
You know, you're not the first person to tell me this. I really gotta watch this movie.
You haven't seen it? Okay.
Oh,
No,
come on.
never.
Share, play.
The
Share,
only thing
play.
I know.
Share, play.
The only the only thing I know is that the soundtrack is excellent.
It is very
That's
good.
everything I know. Okay, why should I watch it?
Because even though there's a couple years difference between us, you and I have very similar feelings about music and media from this time period.
Uh-huh.
And this movie was kind of like the pinnacle of early aughts, like high school, college, early adulthood angst.
Okay.
It really spoke to me because I was angsty in 2004. And
Yeah.
I don't know. What about you, Mike?
Oh, big time. I mean, come on. Garden State, you kidding?
Yeah.
This is where I heard the Iron and Wine version of Such Great Heights for the first time. That song changed my friggin' life. Come on.
You will see us waving from such great heights. Come down now, they'll say. But everything looks perfect from far away. Come down now, but we'll stay.
Do you know that the Iron and Wine version of that song was Mary and I's first dance at our wedding reception?
I know that information. Yes.
It's a really good version.
It's a great movie. I don't think it would hold up today. I haven't seen it. I don't, like in a long time. I don't really remember it, but I just feel like this was probably like if you watched this in 2004, meant a great deal to you. Otherwise, I'm not sure if it hits.
See, I think Federico should watch it because he hasn't seen it, but I
Yes.
don't want to crack it open again for that reason.
I don't want to ruin my memories.
Yeah, but I think Federico, I think it's safe to watch. I think you should do it.
Okay.
But
I will
Federico,
do that.
if you watch it and don't like it, just tell us you watched it. Right?
Okay.
Because
I
like
w-
Steven and
yeah.
I do not want this memory broken, you know?
Okay.
So you just be like, I watched it,
I
and
watched it.
then leave it at that.
Okay.
You know?
All right. I'll do that.
I have some follow out for us. First of all, Federico, I want to say congratulations and good job on App Stories 267. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Thank you. Yes, we were able to have this really great conversation. We did an interview with Apple's Vivek Bhardwaj. I really suck at pronouncing names. I'm sorry. But Vivek is a product manager at Apple. And we talked about universal control, shortcuts, live text, working on Mac OS and iPad OS. Really, we talked about the state of Apple's platforms in general. And we were able to ask, like, to have this conversation, especially from my perspective, about like having been sort of the iPad guy, you know, for years. And I'm still using and loving the iPad Pro and iPad OS. Obviously, I want more from it, but also sort of reapproaching Mac OS with the MacBook Pro and how Apple views that, you know, that sort of evolution or maybe that coexistence of multiple devices in the lineup. And so that was cool. And we were also able to ask some technical questions, like very technical questions. Like, for example, I really wanted to know the thinking behind the new notify when run toggle for shortcuts automations. Sort of like what was the sort of how you approached designing this kind of power user feature while still maintaining security for regular people that are not shortcuts power users. So that was cool. And obviously, Vivek knows what he's talking about, and he's great at podcasts. And I wish that, you know, I kind of wanted to go longer, but also, you know, there's a schedule to respect. So yeah, thank you, Stephen, for the kind words, and that's a good episode. I love it when we can get really technical and also talked about more sort of high level ideas, like how do you see macOS and iPadOS? So that was cool.
Yeah, we had Vivek on MPU back when Shortcuts was introduced. Great interview. He's great to talk to. I really enjoyed it. So just congratulations again.
I would like to share my two favorite things from the episode.
Okay.
One, Vivek and me share accent things.
Right.
So to my ear, Vivek has a very British sounding accent. I don't know where they grew up, but like there's like a Britishness to their accent, but they pronounce D's as T's. No, T's as D's, like I do, like water, right? Because you're around Americans for too long. And if you ask for a glass of water, they look at you like you're an alien. That was part one. Part two was...
Go to Taco Tuesday and get some Mexican food.
Yeah. Oh, man, I love a good taco on Tuesday. Yeah, it's just that's how Americans speak to my ear.
Wait, no, that's not. I saw Steven, you posting the title in the Discord. That's not how you spell it. It's like this. Hold on. It's like this.
Taco Tuesday.
Taco Tuesday. The second part was that he made reference to the viral tweet, I think, of the kid that was using live text to cheat in class. I just didn't think he would talk about that, and I enjoyed that he did.
Yeah, they see these things.
It was a good episode.
They keep an eye on these things. Like, because that was a John question. Like, what's one of the live text use cases that you didn't foresee? And Vivek was like, well, I guess, the kid cheating in class with live text was one. Well, that was cool.
It's just like, I know they know, but like, I didn't think he would mention that specific one. You know what I mean? Like, obviously he knows about it, right? As being like a product manager, because it was like a big thing. Anyway, it's a good episode. Very good episode. I like Vivek. He speaks very plainly, clearly, and warmly. I've enjoyed him on both of those episodes that I've heard him on now.
I also have some follow-out for Upgrade episode 400, so congratulations.
Oh, don't spoil it. I still have to listen, and congratulations, Mike. It's in my queue, but...
I'm not really going to spoil it. I just want to bounce off a topic that they touched on and got something wrong. And I was going to correct it in Slack, But then I thought, I can do it here.
Whoa, hold on a minute.
Correcting your co-host on air about a different show is just savage, Steven. Come on.
The energy that you're bringing here is like, it's like the worst kind of email we can get, but this is happening directly to me. I'm like a prisoner to this email, you know?
Also, I helped you correct some grammar earlier today too.
Oh, no, you know I don't like that though, right? Because it's not correcting.
I would have just fixed it, but I won't touch a Cortex episode. I mean, it's another show, I would have done it.
Well, no, also, I've told you, you're not allowed to do that. You got to stop doing that. So sometimes if Steven, I've mentioned this in the show before, if Steven, sometimes it's just he disagrees with the way that I write something. He changes it without telling me. And I find that to be unacceptable, personally. Federico, what is your ruling on this?
My ruling on correcting friends?
But going in and changing something in our CMS to the way that he would prefer it to be written.
Well,
for my shows that he's not on.
Oh, yeah, that's the thing. So
yeah,
I feel like you shouldn't do the correction yourself. You should send him an iMessage explaining where and why something is wrong.
And he did that today, which is way better. So, Steven, you are improving as an A star to you. And I did change it.
You did, which I appreciate.
But I also just wanted to state, Jason, I have nothing to do with this, right? Because whatever you're going to say right now, Jason's going to get mad about it.
That's
fine.
fine.
I just want to excuse myself from this immediately. So.
That's fine.
What do they say, Steven? You have the floor.
Thank you, sir. The one of greatest honor has let me speak.
The pleasure stops here.
I really want that on my desk now.
Poor Sylvia.
Oh, God. Did you have to say that?
He won't keep it in, though. Coward. Release the mic cut.
I'll keep it in.
Yeah.
Okay. So y'all were speaking about this idea of Apple maybe charging more for certain colors on their products. And Mike, you did a really good job. You brought up the 24-inch iMac where the base model is in a few colors. And if you want the whole range, you have to get an upper tier model. And Jason rightly brought up the example of the white and black plastic MacBooks, saying that they were the same, except you paid whatever it was, $100 or $150 for the black finish, which was really cool looking. Like, I love the way the black MacBook looks. But, and I only know this because I did a video about it, so it's like burned in my mind that how this worked. So there were 5 generations of those plastic MacBooks, and it was always like good, better, best in terms of specifications, in terms of CPU and RAM and hard drive space, that sort of thing. How it always worked was the high-end white one, so the middle MacBook, and the black one always had the same CPU and memory specs. The black one just came with a bigger hard drive in addition to the cost. Now, going from 60 to 80 or 120 to 160, kind of depending on the generation, that larger capacity in no way justified the cost. I think Apple just did it to help justify it a little bit better, but you were paying for the color difference, but you did get more storage as well. So I just wanted to set the record straight on how the MacBook worked, because again, that's what I thought until I did all this research and did this video a couple years ago. But then that got me thinking, where else has Apple done this in the past? And I came up with a couple of examples. There were 2 generations of iPod Nano in particular where they did this. And I remember it because these Nanos were in the store for sale when I worked there. And I remember people getting mad that they had to spend more to get the color they wanted, especially because Apple would make the black one a higher end option. The black Nanos, I think, always looked cool. I think people liked them. So the second generation, there was a 2 gigabyte entry level. It was only available in silver, and it was $149. And then the 4 gigabyte was silver, green, blue, pink, and red, the product red color. That was $199, so $50 more. But if you wanted the 8 gigabyte, which do I remember 8 gigabytes on an iPod Nano? It felt, to me at least, something so small with that much storage felt impossible at the time. That one was $249 and only came in black or product red. So the pricing and the colors being all tied together with the capacity is definitely something Apple did. They did it the next generation too, a little bit simpler of a model. But I think the crowning achievement of Apple charging more for basically just a color or a finish. At first, I thought it was the stainless steel 3rd generation iPod Shuffle. Do you remember that? It was the buttonless iPod Shuffle that no one liked.
The one that just did Siri or voice control.
Voice control.
Yeah.
And it was 2 gigabytes for $59, 4 gigabytes for $79, or 4 gigabytes stainless steel for $99. Literally, you're paying $20 more for the stainless steel finish. But then I remembered the most egregious example of this. I'm going to say 3 words. Gold Apple Watch.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Oh,
Just finish, material. And it's a little bit different because, right, anodizing an iPod Nano doesn't cost tens of thousands of dollars like a gold Apple Watch. But I just kind of wanted to explore this idea of where Apple has charged differently for different colors or finishes or materials.
I think this is all great, all very valid. I think the point that I would like to make in counterpoint as a friend of the hosts of Upgrade is that the point that we originally made was that they haven't yet charged for colors. And the feedback that we got was an example of this, but it's also tied to configurations like what you've mentioned.
Right. Yeah.
Like, so you have pointed out definitely more examples of this happening, good examples. I think that this is all feeding back to 2 episodes ago where we were saying that like the idea of them just charging more money for color for the sake of it. But I could see them doing with these laptops another example of what you've mentioned here of like certain colors are only available in certain specs, but those specs cost more and come with more stuff.
I mean, really, it started out as just wanting to like clear the page on the white and black MacBooks, and then I just got curious about how this has worked in the past.
The Apple Watch one is interesting, right? I mean, you're right. Like they're different materials, so they're different. But you don't.
It costs more to make a gold one than an aluminum one, but not $17,000 more.
Or even a titanium one to an aluminum one, right?
Yeah.
Like I just said aluminum. Ugh.
Wow.
Ugh.
Ugh.
well, it's,
Keep my language out of your mouth.
I would love
Aluminium.
Aluminium. Titanium.
This episode of Connected is brought to you by Squarespace. I'm going to just tell y'all something about me. Just stick with me. I love content management systems. My last jobby job was at an agency. We had our own custom content management system to build websites on top of. Relay owns its own CMS that we built. I love them. I like fiddling with them. I like building them. But look, don't be like me. Just don't do it. Be better than me and use Squarespace for the next website you need to build. You can get a beautiful website. You can engage with your audience, and you can sell anything, product, services, content you're creating. Whatever you need, Squarespace has the tools to get you covered. You can sell your products in an online store, physical and digital products, both. They have all the tools you need to start selling online. And you can really dial in your SEO with their suite of integrated features and useful guides to help maximize your prominence among search results. If you're doing this on your own, you got to bolt all that stuff on. Squarespace, it all works together. It all looks really good and all really easy to manage. So your next project, no matter what it is, a website for your business, maybe a blog or a podcast, or you're hosting an event. I've seen Squarespace sites used for wedding gift registry stuff, all sorts of examples. You should go to Squarespace and get started. To do that, go to squarespace.com/connected for a free trial with no credit card required. And when you're ready to launch, use the offer code CONNECTED to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain name. That's squarespace.com/connected and use the sign-up code CONNECTED to get 10% off your first purchase and to show your support for the show. Our thanks to Squarespace for building an awesome product, supporting Connected, and all of Relay FM.
So you going to WWDC?
I'm going.
He's going. Oh, nice.
I'm going to the Worldwide DACO conference.
So a lot of people had assumed that we would have known about the date for WWDC by now. Historically, one would have assumed by the end of March we'd know. That has been the typical. It's been the typical before COVID. It's been the typical during COVID that they have announced the WWDC dates for June, sometime in March. It is the 30th of March today. It is yet to occur. Maybe by the time you're hearing this, they've done it, but they haven't done it yet. Apple feel like they've been tricking us, the people that do pay attention to these things, because they keep putting out press releases, but none of them have the WWDC dates in them.
I've been thinking about this, and I feel like it's the third year that this is going to be an online event, right? Is there really any pressure to pre-announce it in March?
No.
Right? I mean, right? You could just even announce it in early May, and it wouldn't matter because people will pay attention anyway.
The only reason, I was thinking about this too, right? And the only reason I came down on this is like, it's a community event, right? By and large.
Yeah.
That means you have to pay attention to the community, right? Community is expecting to know now based on every other year. So if you're paying attention to the community, at some point, you got to tell them. Even if,
some point.
right? Even if maybe they're going to do it later. Maybe they're going to do it. It's all different. But it's like, you go at some point, like in the last 2 years, there was no need, well, maybe 2020. 2021, there was no need to tell us in March either, right? For the same reasons. So you'd kind of expect it at some point. As Kate's pointed out in the Discord, if they're doing a student contest, they've got to give some time for that, right? Because you've got to come up with the idea. And
really, that's the best reason. Like, that's the best argument, I think. If you want to have a student contest, you got to give them time to build the project and submit the project. So, yeah, I could see that.
what do you think, Stephen?
Yeah, I think there's definitely no pressure to rush it out the door. We're all expecting it. I see why they did that in 21. Maybe they thought, people thought, I certainly thought that we were closer to the end of it then than we ended up being. But
Don't you feel that way now, though? Like, doesn't it feel the same?
yeah, but I don't want to say it out loud, because in other parts of the world, it's very much not under
every
control.
part of the world, like, it's not, it's, anyway, let's not get into this. But, like, it's, I don't know how different it really feels than this time last year.
The week of June 6th, I believe, is the first full week of June. That feels like a lock to me. June does the weird thing where it's split this year, where the 1st is a Wednesday. So June 6th through 10th would be the first full week that falls. Where they like to have it? They like to have it the first half of June. And, it's coming up pretty quick. It's really not that far away. I did want to talk about, I think all three of us believe it will be virtual in terms of attendees. There's been talk of maybe Apple having press out for the keynote and that being streamed live with, select press in the room or maybe outside in the cool rainbow stage area in the central ring of Apple Park. But if that's the case, I think it's at most what they would do. And that's kind of what Google's doing with I.O., right? They're doing a little event in person with very few people in the audience. Maybe that's the way to dip your toe back in the water with this.
Yeah, I think Google's doing employees, though.
Yeah, not press.
So Apple could do this too, right? So you can kind of start to get that back. Because maybe WWDC, there isn't much use in having press there. Like, if you've not got, hardware to show them, why invite them?
Yeah.
I don't know.
And if it's smaller, then you can, focus on the press who would really cover the software stories, I guess.
True.
And, different than the iPhone event, which is you just got to get as many people in there as possible.
I think Google's going back to the Shoreline Amphitheater too, where they did it pre-COVID. So
I like that. I haven't been there, but I like the way that looks on their streams.
wasn't there that first year where everyone got sunburn?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Oh man, that it's just think ahead, man. We're gonna have everyone sit outside at noon. Great, let's go for it.
James said, just fill the theater with Apple employees. Apple is pushing people to get back. So
so that could be it, right? That could be a way to do it. People will back,
maybe.
put them in there, and start to introduce, because I think it's going to be hybrid, right? They're still going to, I reckon, cut away to way more video stuff than they used to, just because
maybe
it looks so good. And I can imagine that the people that put together these things really like the amount that they can control the message and the way everything looks and sounds and feels by having it editable and not live.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we'll see. I reckon there's going to be always an element of mixing that stuff up, where like maybe Tim's live and demos are live, but everything else is video.
We'll see. It's just very interesting to consider the future of it, and hopefully know when it is sooner rather than later. I also want to talk about the new version of Overcast that came out last week. He does like the year release, so it's 2022.2. The version numbers.
Still, I'm sorry, Marco, but it still looks horrible. Like I am extremely against this naming mechanism. I understand why some developers like it. It sounds, I don't know. I struggle to associate features with this versioning numbering system. So, just me as an app reviewer speaking here. Anyway, you go use your versioning scheme you prefer, but hey, I don't like it. So, anyway, yes, Steven, you have the floor again.
Thank you. So this is what Marco's calling phase 1 of a wider redesign of Overcast. So the focus here was, it seems like around some of the colors and typography. You can now set custom colors for your light and dark theme. So I'm using the dark theme with orange, which looks really good. And playlist got a big overhaul. So immediately visually they're different. They're these nice rounded color sections, and you can customize, of course, the name, but also the icon. So there's a bunch of SF symbols to choose from, which I really like the customization. It makes me wish for this wide of customization and things like shortcuts or reminders. I was like, just load in SF symbols and let me pick from 10,000 things. I think it looks really great. The playlist stuff, I don't use playlists a lot, but he has changed and added some functionality to how you can set up a playlist. So some of those criteria have been tweaked. And overall, I think it looks really good. And I'm excited about what comes next, because this has made other parts of the app feel pretty old, like especially the playing screen, which I know he's talked about on Under the Radar, that being a really big part of this redesign. He's not there yet, but I think it definitely brings a breath of fresh air to this UI, which honestly really needed it.
Yeah, it's really nice. I really like the use of colors, and I really like the new layout especially in the first half of the main screen with the playlists and the recent section. There's a couple of things that I would like to see tweaked personally. I really would prefer to have more details in the recent scrolling tray, because right now it just shows me like this horizontal row of podcast episodes, but it only shows the artwork. It doesn't show the title of the episode. So I don't know, I find it very confusing, because I would like to confirm which episode it is. And I know that I can long press on those thumbnails to get more details, but that's one extra interaction that I would prefer to avoid if possible. And also, I am maybe in the minority here, but I find what's it called? Unplayed, active, and archive organization kind of confusing. I don't really understand what like the difference between unplayed and active is, because both of them have orange dots next to them.
Right. Well, this is that issue with the archive and active thing, right? Like, yeah.
And the archive is just empty for me. Like, so why is it there? Like, why can I not turn it off? I don't really understand. Like, unplayed, I guess it's unplayed episodes and they have orange dots, which, okay, makes sense. But then I go to active and I see the same shows and they also have orange dots. So it seems like, to me, unplayed and active are like the same screen, and archive is just there within space.
Yeah, it's complicated. I mean, but like I understand some of why it's there, but like it does get into a thing that I have a problem with, which Stephen wrote about, and I've mentioned in the show before. I have a problem with all podcast apps that do this, that say that a show is not active anymore or predicts the frequency of an episode release date. Like, I just don't like that stuff. I think that those decisions should be left to the person that makes the show, not an algorithm, because I don't know. Like, I don't like someone saying what my show is, you know? Like, for example, we have a feed here at Relay FM called Departures that is very much an active feed, but we'll only get something when we have a live show. So it's not inactive. But and overall, I like the design changes so far. I mean, for me, the thing that I've liked the most is the iconography change. Just like in general, I think like there's a lot more SF symbols just throughout the app, right? And I like the way that looks really fresh. Like, so I like all of that stuff, and I like the way that playlists look at that now. The recent thing, I think I might be in the same camp as you, Federico. I like the way it looks, but I don't think I've ever used it. So, like, for me, years ago, at WWDC, Stephen noticed the thing that me and Federico were doing, that we would get a notification on an Apple Watch and take our phone out of our pocket, right? That, like, the notification, like, you'd feel the thing happen on your Apple Watch and you'd take your phone out of your pocket to do the thing. That's how I feel about this recent thing. It's like, oh, there's a podcast that's new. Let me go to my all episode playlist and take it into my queue playlist. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not actually interacting with that part of the UI at all. It's just like a notifications thing for me. So, but overall, the app looks way more modern now, which is awesome. And it looks like it kind of feels like it fits within its market more, where, like, I feel like maybe for a while it's like, this is our app, you know, like the podcast nerds, like, and it's not saying it's not that anymore, but it has more of like a, I don't know, it feels like more of a design which is for a larger audience, which I think is probably the right thing to do.
I turned off the recent thing. I just I found myself basically scrolling past it.
Oh, you can turn it off?
Yeah, it's in the playlist menu at the top of that screen. You can actually turn on some like suggested or pre-made,
Oh, I see.
and there's an option to turn on or off the recents section. Like I said, I think it looks nice. I just don't need the functionality, but
Yeah, it looks nice though.
it does. Yeah. All in all, I'm really impressed with where it's come, and I'm excited to see what he brings to it next. This episode of Connected is made possible by Capital One. Have you ever hit a technical snafu while shopping online? Have payment fields given you a headache when you try to fill them out? Or has your mobile banking app been down when you really needed to use it? Capital One believes everyone deserves better banking. This means easier access to their money and more security. That's why Capital One is investing in machine learning. Machine learning allows Capital One to do things like fight fraud with random forests, with models that quickly detect suspicious activity and make it faster to alert federal investigators. And they identify how mobile app outages happen with causal models. Keeping a mobile app up and running doesn't happen by accident. Anomaly detection and incident response help determine why app outages happen so engineers can quickly remedy them. Capital One speeds up online shopping with machine learning at the edge. They make shopping with virtual card numbers smoother and more secure. This technology is based on logistic regression models and running inference in the browser. It identifies payment fields, which helps make using those virtual card numbers easier and faster. The potential of machine learning is so big. See how Capital One is using it to create the future of banking. Simply search machine learning at Capital One. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Google Docs is getting Markdown support natively. This is obviously only on the web because why update the applications? Google Docs had already supported like bullets. Like if you would type an asterisk and then space, it would immediately turn it into a bullet. Lots and lots of apps do this, right? Like whether they support Markdown or not, like it's just become like a thing. But Google Docs will now automatically convert other styling choices like headings, bold, italicizing. I think Steven is in our document right now, or Federico, like
that
checking that links work, and they work too, which is good. It's automatically done once you turn on the setting. What do the two of you think about that? Like it doesn't like do any syntax highlighting, right? Like it just changes what you type in.
I'm kind of torn on this because I like apps like OneWriter or like Obsidian does this, where your plain text picks up some formatting based on the markdown that's around it. I know some people really don't like that and would prefer just to see it all the same. And okay, I don't need my H1 to be bigger. I see that because there's a single pound sign next to it that it's an H1. So I'm kind of torn on it. I also don't have the option yet because Google
says just Federico does out of the three of us, and he can do things in our document, but we can't do them.
It's that Google says it can take longer than 15 days. It's cool though. I mean, a lot of people, I think including maybe all three of us, like we just write in Markdown all the time to the point where I actually use Markdown in like my handwritten field notes notebook. Like just if I'm like making headers and notes or whatever, I will use Markdown for that just because I can visually parse it.
Wow.
This is cool. This is like maybe one of the more mainstream places Markdown has shown up. I think it's correct that it should be off by default because most people obviously don't know what Markdown is. This is just for those of us who do. And so we can go in and find it and turn it on. I've got no problems with the preference being set the way that it is.
Thinking about this, like, what is the thing that people would bump up against? And I guess it's the use of the pound sign, right?
I actually thought about the asterisks because people type. I mean, one of the reasons they're used that way is because people may use asterisks or underscores to emphasize a word in plain text, and then they actually stumble into why is it being italicized or bolded. Maybe they don't.
I feel do people do that don't know what it is for though?
I don't know.
You know?
I don't know.
Like I feel like that might be like, oh, I wanted it to be in you know, I don't know. But I feel like if you would type in like pound something, it like a hashtag, it would turn it into a heading potentially.
Well, hopefully it requires a space after it.
Who knows? I mean, I've used apps that try and tag things.
Yeah, and that's the problem. Like, we don't know the exact details of which flavor of Markdown this is. You know, and there's a lot of apps like Slack, for instance, is the worst offender, where they almost support Markdown, but like the asterisks and underscores do different things, and they should be the same according to the official like Gruber's Markdown resource guides. But I think it's cool. I'm looking forward to turning it on. Something I will definitely turn on and use. It's just, you know, whenever it shows up, I'll check the box.
You've mentioned Slack, so I'd like to air a grievance.
Please.
It's just the emoji thing again.
Yeah, they're like 2 releases behind now, or 3.
Yeah. Yep. But that was my, you know, I use that app Rocket on the Mac. They haven't added the new emoji either. What is it with applications that are all about emoji?
It's only Masquerade. Masquerade's leading the way.
Well, it's because Casey did the smart thing, where like it's just pulling the emoji, so like he doesn't have to do anything. Like he doesn't need to like update the application like in any way. Like it just works. Like Casey did it the smart way. But like that, you know what app I'm talking about, right? Like the Rocket emoji searching app. Like they haven't added a new emoji. And I'm like, what are you doing, man? This is your whole thing. Like this is the thing. This is what you do. Like it's the same with Slack. Like I don't get it. Like if you build your whole, like so much of Slack's corporate identity is built around emoji, but there are 2 emoji releases behind now where they don't support it in the searching, and also like some emojis small in the app and some are big. Like what are you doing, man? What is this? I don't get it. My grievance has been aired.
Can I go back to Google Docs and Markdown real quick?
Please.
So couple of thoughts here. I think it's the right choice to keep it off by default. In terms of the implementation, I mean, I already found, you know, a few things that are not working, and that's fine. But you can see that it's still like a mode that has been, you know, bolted onto a pre-existing system. Meaning, if you enter some Markdown and it reformats on the fly, right? When you go back and delete a few characters, you are still in the same rich text formatting mode, meaning if you are on a new line and you enter, you know, double asterisk because you want to make a word bold, and then you back out and delete those characters, the editor is still switched to bold formatting, which is, you know, it's that sort of like WYSIWYG mentality. It's sort of against the spirit of Markdown, which is you see the formatting, and if you delete the characters, you also delete the formatting. Like I recently reread John Gruber's introduction of Markdown from many years ago. Such a great piece of like a plain English explanation of a very technical thing. And one of the driving principles behind it was, you know, to be the opposite of WYSIWYG editors, where sometimes even though you deleted the syntax, the editor is still switched to a particular formatting mode. And you can see this in the Markdown implementation of Google Docs, which, again, not surprising because this is an old thing that are trying to add more options to it. The second thing that I want to say is, unsurprisingly, I think the best implementation of this kind of, it's Markdown, but it's also visually previewed, so you don't see the syntax. The best one is the live preview mode in Obsidian. Obsidian recently shipped this major update to the engine behind its editor. And now this mode called live preview is on by default for all Obsidian users. And if you want, you can go back to the legacy editor, but that has been deprecated and it'll go away eventually. And the way Obsidian does this, I think, is the best balance, the best compromise that I've seen to date, which is you can type Markdown and the text formats as you go. However, if you then place the cursor in any point of the editor where formatting is taking place, you see it goes back to showing you the plain text syntax. So for example, right now I'm looking at a note, and the note has a link to a web page, and that's an underlined rich text link. However, if I place the cursor next to it, it turns into the plain text Markdown. So it lets me see the Markdown syntax if I place my cursor on the same line. And this, I think, is the best compromise, because I am very picky about my Markdown and I'm very picky about my syntax. And I've always resisted the idea of these editors trying to be too fancy about it, being like, but what if you wouldn't have to see the Markdown syntax, which kind of defeats the point, because that's the point of Markdown. It's supposed to be readable, it's supposed to be intuitive, and to give you full control over formatting. But this way, in Obsidian, I do see nicely, assembled sort of documents in preview mode. However, I still retain control of the editor if I place a cursor on a line of text that has Markdown. So just wanted to say that sort of is my baseline now. The Obsidian live preview mode is my baseline for all these kinds of Markdown, but also rich preview implementations.
Why not both,
Just make your own text editor. Teachy text.
Well, you joke about it, but at some point I will.
Could I suggest Electron?
Once I'm done with all these things I'm doing, it's an obvious next step for me, right?
One last tiny topic. Friend of the show and now Twitter famous person, Ming-Chi Kuo, has predicted that the underscreen fingerprint reader, that's really hard to say, that was maybe on board for 2023, but now he thinks that it's unlikely to happen, that maybe Apple has just decided not to pursue this. This is a quote: "I previously predicted iPhones would support under-display fingerprint sensing / Touch ID in 2023 at the earliest, but the latest survey indicates that new iPhones in 23 and 24 may not adopt under-display Touch ID. Face ID with a mask on iPhone is already a great biometrics solution." What do y'all think?
I think since 15.4, I don't want it anymore. I don't feel like I need Touch ID anymore. Like the mask, Face ID with a mask has taken me back to like my previous feelings about Face ID of being better than Touch ID in every single possible way. Like I don't feel like I want it anymore. Like where if you would have asked me 6 months ago, I very much wanted Touch ID to return to the iPhone, but now I can take it or leave it. Like because under screen, it's not. It still requires this. Like it has to be in a specific place, even if it's like a large area. It's still a specific place, which is just like I don't want to be so intentional about it. Like I prefer Face ID. Especially again now where I can go back to being way less intentional about how I'm unlocking my phone. So yeah, I think that they've honestly solved the situation again for me. Like I don't feel like I require Touch ID, and maybe that's like as Ming-Chi Kuo said, like Face ID with a mask on iPhone is already a great biometric solution. Like maybe that's where Apple's come back to again. Of like what we've got Face ID back to where we want it to be.
I agree with Mike, and I also think, why do they have to be so clever about this? Just make the side button a Touch ID button and have both Face ID and Touch ID. Like, why It feels to me like this is a case of Apple trying to be too clever about something that is under their nose already, because they have this feature on the iPad Air and the iPad Mini. Just turn the existing side button into one of those existing Touch ID buttons and have both. Again, why not both? Have both Face ID and Touch ID on the iPhone. Just repurpose the existing button that you already have.
I'm not sure about the button though.
Why?
No, look, I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why for me on the iPhone. I don't unlock my iPhone by pressing the button, you know?
Right, because you don't have to. But what if you wanted to? Like Sylvia, for example, hates Face ID. Like she just hates Face ID. Like given the option, she would use Touch ID instead.
Do you know why she doesn't like it?
Because she says that, sometimes she's wearing sunglasses and it doesn't work with her sunglasses. That kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And she always found Touch ID more reliable. She uses the iPhone. She's not switching to anything else, obviously, but she's like, Face ID, used to be better years ago.
Right.
And, I understand that point of view. So given the option, let people choose,
Make it go back to, like, as you say, a choice thing, not necessarily making the most convenient, right? Because you would imagine that they were like, oh, what they really want to do is when you do that swipe up on the home screen, right? It's scanning your fingerprint, and then whichever one gets to first, the fingerprint or the face, then you're good, you're unlocked,
sure,
right? Which is probably why they wanted to put it in the screen, right? So, like, train everyone to keep using the same swipe area. If it can't get the face, maybe it gets the finger. But I get what you mean, like, just give it as a choice. I don't know. Stephen, what do you think?
Yeah, I think a choice would be nice. I mean, I get the fact that the behavior we've all learned now is that you just have to tap the screen and look at it, or raise your phone and look at it. And we've definitely all moved away from using the sleep wake button to actually wake up our phones. But we could all adjust again. And I think it'd be nice to have options, because for some people, one works way better than the other. And your needs change over time. Like, just think about, you're maybe wearing sunglasses in the summer that don't work, but maybe in the winter you're wearing gloves that aren't touch sensitive, right? Like, I don't see the harm in putting both in, especially if the technology already exists. Now, yes, the button is bigger on the iPads than it is on the phone, but they can continue to work on that. I don't know. I'd like to see it because I think just having more options would be nice. And I wonder if Apple would do something where, you can use, either one to, like, authenticate in a password manager. But what if I could set it up where it required both? I needed to touch and look. And
two-factor.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like really two-factor because it's still just one body, but...
Well, I mean, I guess it depends how you set it up, right?
Yeah, I have to look at it. My wife has to touch the Touch ID, and then I can move money out of the bank account for a new computer.
Yeah. That's great. I love it.
Have I told you guys about the one little trick that changed my life?
Oh, we getting one of these viral tweets here? Are you viral tweeting the show?
Yes.
Did you know you can drag with two fingers and select multiple things?
Yeah, well, have you read my iOS reviews? I should be like Casey, I can't believe you haven't read my blog.
You should reply to every single one of those tweets and be like, "Did you just like you didn't read my iOS?"
It's like you never read my reviews. Honestly, I really feel like I could have a very lucrative side career as a clickbait headline writer.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm not doing that. So, did I tell you guys or did I tell John? I don't remember. Anyway, I disabled Race to Wake.
Okay.
No, sorry. I disabled Tap to Wake on my iPhone. So I'm just unlocking the iPhone by pressing the side button now or by raising the iPhone. But I disabled touching the screen to wake the phone because it was driving me. It was so annoying that, and it's something that has been building up over the past couple of years all the time. I would continuously, accidentally unlock my phone or do something on my iPhone's lock screen without me knowing.
Yeah.
I guess this happens because that's something I realized about myself. I fiddle with my iPhone when it's in my pocket a lot. I don't know why I do this. Apparently I can't stop doing this. So I just needed to, face this reality. I touch my phone when it's in my pocket a lot, just randomly. Just I fiddle with it like a fidget toy or something. I don't know why I do it. So I would find my phone like either with the flashlight on, with the camera unlocked. It would start burning up in my pocket, right? Which is uncomfortable. Another instance, sometimes when I'm walking the dogs at night, for example, and the street lamp is broken or something, and I have to use my iPhone's flashlight, right? So I'm walking the dogs and I'm holding the iPhone with the flashlight on, right? Because I need to have some light. And I'm holding the phone with the screen turned off. But because of those accidental touches, so the palm of my hand is touching the phone and it would continuously turn off the flashlight, leaving me and the dogs in the dark. And so I just, a couple of weeks ago, I was like, enough with this tap to wake stuff. I'm just going back to waking the phone by either picking up my iPhone or touching or pressing the side button. And it honestly changed my life. I've been a happy man ever since. Like really, really happy with my iPhone that it doesn't, that I don't accidentally touch and therefore wake and do stuff anymore.
Okay. I mean, I could imagine removing raise to wake would be much more of a thing you would notice.
Raise to wake is amazing. But tap to wake, I still have it on the iPad, of course, because the iPad is not like I'm walking around and just holding the iPad. Also,
does the iPad even have raise to wake?
I think they do. They do. No, raise to wake, tap to wake. I mean,
yeah,
they do. Also, I'm not fiddling with my iPad Pro. It's 13-inch tablet, not fun as a fidget toy. But no more tap to wake.
How do you feel about this? Wait, did we decide how you felt about the Touch ID?
Yeah, I don't think we ever actually got there.
Touch ID under the screen. I don't care anymore. Just put it in the side button.
Great.
Yeah.
We may have answered that already. I don't remember anymore.
That was my conclusion.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. I like the feature, but I understand in the situation you have described, I would also be annoyed by that if that was happening to me. I'm not a pocket fiddler like you.
This episode of Connected is made possible by our friends at Memberful. Memberful is the easiest way to sell memberships to an audience used by the biggest creators on the web. Generate sustainable, recurring income while diversifying your revenue stream. You've heard us talk about the Relay FM membership program. It is built on Memberful. We chose Memberful years and years ago for their excellent features, and it has been a rewarding partnership ever since. They make it easy for us to generate extra revenue for the company and deliver bonus content and goodies to our members. Memberful really has given us the tools to stabilize our business through the pandemic and to build this whole new part of the company out where we have longer ad-free versions of the show. Those are delivered through Memberful. The monthly newsletter delivered through Memberful. Our Discord integration, so members can come into the Discord, and if you're not a member, you're not allowed. That's also through Memberful. All that stuff is under one roof. I'm not running around adding a bunch of things piece by piece. Memberful makes it easy to do this and really easy to rely on other means of income besides advertising. Maybe you're already producing content and relying on advertising or other means of income. Memberful makes it easy to diversify that with everything you need to run a membership program. In addition to all the stuff I already mentioned, you also get custom branding, gift subscriptions, Apple Pay support, free trials, private podcast feed, and tons more. They leave you with full control, though, and ownership of everything that relates to your audience, your brand, and your membership. I mentioned the newsletter. That's just built into Memberful. I'm not using a third-party email provider anymore. And those newsletters get posted on a members-only website so people can check them out in the future, which I think is really cool. If you're a content creator, Memberful can help you monetize your passion. Get started for free at memberful.com/connected with no credit card required. That's memberful.com/connected. Go there now to check it out. It could be the start of something really exciting. Our thanks to Memberful for their support of the show and Relay FM. Last week, we started looking at some changes to the Bill of Rickies.
Hang on. That's not correct. Last week, you ambushed us.
Yes, thank you, Mike.
With a complete rewrite of the Bill of Rickies.
We gently discussed some changes.
Mm-hmm.
And before we get into where we left off, I just wanted to point out some stuff Lex has done at rickies.co. We're up to version 2.2 now. There's several new pages. Rickies.co/trophies Includes everything you need to know about the different trophies, including an AR version of the Tricky, our wooden trophies, and an interactive Mac Tricky.
Now, the AR version is something James made.
Yes.
And I don't know if it ever was actually in Shipping Peacock, but it was at least for a little while secretly inside of Shipping Peacock as he was working on that. And I think he then provided the model to Lex. And it's in Shipping Dice. That's it. Dice by Peacock. If you're in the Relay FM mode, and I think if you then go to the About screen, the Tricky, the R version trophy is in Dice by Peacock now and does a bunch of updating. And then he provided that model to Lex to put it on the website too. So there's all kinds of shenanigans going on here.
And there's a full change log over on the GitHub page for the project. But I wanted to point those two things out because in the proposed new document, we reference that Rickies.co has a page about the trophies. And so that page is now real, which is very cool of Lex. I know it was a lot of work, so thank you, as always.
Helps with the closing ceremonies.
Yeah, well, we'll get there. We got things to finish.
Okay.
So if you guys want to reopen that document, we need to finalize our decision on reusing of picks during the Rickies, during the regular game. Do you all have any thoughts on how we should do that?
Didn't we want to rediscuss the preamble as well?
Yes, there's maybe a tweak that we could bring to the preamble.
Oh, right. Yeah, so Sam had recommended this. Sam writes on Twitter.
Which I like this.
I think the preamble should also briefly explain the actual principle of the game. Something like players try to predict what happens during or after the keynote. That's a good suggestion.
Which is funny because, the preamble is supposed to explain the actual principle of the game. I think that's what we were going for.
The Rickies is a game where connected hosts play before Apple keynotes in the beginning of a new year. So I guess we just need to add trying
that
to predict what happens. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the point of it's just a game we play and there's a Ricky involved. You know what I mean? It's I think it needs the predictions,
So what if I just add at the beginning, so the Rickies is a game connected hosts play before Apple keynotes in the beginning of a new year, trying to predict future events. So what about reusing picks? Have y'all done some soul searching and come up with something?
I do think there needs to be a pick reusing rule.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we should just get to freely re-pick whatever we want.
Yeah, I agree. I've been thinking about this. I think we should keep something. And I feel like maybe a good compromise could be you cannot reuse the same pick for the next game. So you have a one game hold where you cannot reuse a pick.
Can I make a suggestion to that? That it is we cannot re-pick our own things.
Oh yeah, that was implied, but yes, I agree.
Cool. I didn't catch that.
So for example, let's flesh this out. Say that Mike makes a prediction that MacBooks will come with 5G.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He does that in September. And
Yes.
then in October, he can't use that again, but I can.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
But if there was an
Yes.
event in November, I could then use it again.
Yes.
Yeah, I prefer this because honestly, the reason that I don't like the year thing is the complexity of keeping track of that.
Yeah, with time it becomes, challenging.
And also as well, I don't think it's that helpful because I don't really think many things picked in March will be that applicable in October anyway. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's
Yep.
adding a level of overhead, which maybe isn't necessary, and also allows us to actually make relevant picks again. If someone made a pick in March about an iMac Pro coming, that was relevant, but then it wouldn't be relevant again now until the end of the year, but it's still a pick that should be made if everyone believes the iMac Pro's coming at the end of the year. So
Yep. Yeah, and it also adds like an element of strategy to the game, where if you think there's going to be multiple Apple events, then you got to be strategic about like, do I want to do this pick now at the risk of not being able to pick it again for the next event, or do I want to save it for the second event? So it adds that element, and it's easier for us to manage because we can just go to rickies.co, see, the previous game, and you don't have to do the calculation of like, has it been a year? No, you just go, what's the previous one? And what picks can I use? And it's easier for everyone.
And I know that these incredible websites will have really great search tools. Like, I know that they exist, but still, I think a 12-month span is too much. It's too aggressive.
So let me ask you this. How does the annual game fit into this? Is a pick dead between annual events? The way I view it is, the way I'm thinking about it is, say there's an October event and you pick MacBooks get 5G, you can't pick that in the annual because it was in your previous batch.
I like that. So, okay.
And if you pick something on the annual event, you cannot pick it again in the March event.
Yeah, that there's no distinguishing between the two types of games.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I actually want to... now I know I have some stuff I need to think about here. So, for the there's two things that from what I've heard that I like and would like to clarify on. So, in the annual pick, I don't think any three of us should be able to pick anything we have picked in the previous 12 months. That would be my ideal.
What?
I think it makes it too hard.
But that's the point. The annual ones have got to be hard. Because what I like about the annual picks, right? So let me just put that, is that it is way grander than a keynote. Like I like that you have to make much bigger predictions for the annual Rickies. Like, if we all made picks that could possibly happen in a March event, that's not so fun. Like, and so by making us be really inventive, I like that about the annuals. We could choose to do whatever you want with that, but that's just my thing. What I was then going to say is any annual pick that any of us has made should be unpickable for the rest of the year. Because then you're doubling down on it. Someone can double dip, or like one pick, or maybe just an easier way to do it is anything you pick in the annuals, you can't pick again.
Yeah, until the next.
Like, no annual pick is choosable by the pick person. Right? Like, if I make a pick, which is like Apple releases an iPhone, you know what I mean? Like, I can't, like...
No, you lost me here, man. So,
all right, so there are two things I want to raise with the annual picks, right?
Yeah.
Point number one. If we're coming to our 2023 annual picks,
yeah,
I don't think I should be allowed to choose anything I have picked in 2022 for that. That's point one. Right.
So when you say anything you've picked, that's where I get confused. When you say anything you've picked in 2022, does that apply to 2022 annual or 2022 annual plus
all
keynote events?
Yeah.
Everything.
This is what I'm proposing, because then it makes the annual picks harder, and like they have to be bigger picture, right? But I can still pick something you picked, but I can't pick anything I picked. Point two is that anything picked in an annual Rickie cannot be reused in any keynote Rickie for the following year by the person who picked it. So I can't get points in both a keynote Rickie and an annual Rickie for the same thing.
No, you lost me again.
Okay. We're going to do these point by point. I'm going to start with the second one, right?
Yeah.
If I pick in the annual Rickies, WWDC will be in person, right?
Yes.
That's my pick. I locked that in.
Yeah.
In June, I can't pick WWDC is going to be in person. So any pick that I make for an annual Rickie pick, I cannot re-pick anything later on in the year. It's the same thing, right? So any annual pick that I make cannot also be a keynote pick. Does that make sense? You don't have to agree with me, but do you follow what I'm saying?
So you want annual picks to be sort of like, to be exclusive in their own world.
Yes.
Like, annual picks are these. You say them at the beginning of the year. You cannot reuse them for anything through the course of the calendar year.
Yes.
Okay.
That's point one. Then the other point is, it's going backwards. So 2023's annual picks, I cannot reuse anything I have picked in 2022. They have to be original,
Right.
and then they can't be reused.
So your goal is to make the January Rickies as original and bold as possible.
Yes, that's what I'm aiming for with these two rules. Because I think that's what makes the annual game the most fun.
I mean, you're not wrong. That'll do it. It'll make it really challenging.
Because what I don't want us to be doing is picking things that are right on the horizon.
I mean, it makes the annual game very challenging and difficult.
It should be.
But it should be.
Because as well, right? Like, one of the problems with the Rickies is we don't know when it's going to happen. The annual one, we know when that's happening, right? So it is our job to be thinking of these for like 2 months before.
So here's how I would put it all together, guys.
Okay.
We add two sub points about these rules.
Okay.
One says annual Rickies, so basically I'm summarizing here. Whatever you pick at the beginning of the year, you cannot reuse through the course of the calendar year, and you cannot reuse any pick from the previous year.
Yes.
For keynote Rickies, you cannot reuse the same pick in the next keynote.
Yes.
And that's it.
That's it.
So essentially annual Rickies have a 1-year exclusivity.
Yep.
Keynote Rickies have a 1 keynote exclusivity.
Yep.
That works for me. It'll make the 2023 predictions really fun to come up with.
And hard,
That's going to be some
right?
work and hard. Yeah.
That's the point. Because I want us to really go for it with that one, right? Because it's fun for me when the annual Rickies, we could grade them all the way up to December 31st. Because anything can happen.
Yeah.
Right? We get into something like the PR chief being replaced. Do you know what I mean? It's like, that's the kind of stuff I like in the annual ones. It's very, it's not even really product related as such. I think they're the most fun. You're trying to guess something. I think one of mine is that Tim Cook will say metaverse, right? Now that could happen at any point. Mm-hmm. He could be in an interview and say it. And then I have to just keep track of that. I like that. That's what I like about the annual ones.
I agree with all of this, but I would also exclude flexes from all of this.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
They're separate rules now.
Flexies are a whole set of separate. And I would suggest that this would be your call, Stephen, that you don't need to read the annual Rickies part as part of the regular.
So it's like a
Yeah.
A-B group thing. I just read the correct ones. All right, so I'm working on language.
That you just read what you need.
All right, so picks made for event Rickies cannot be reused by the host who made the pick in the next event Ricky episode.
Oh, I guess though for the annual for the event Rickies you would need...
Let's do the event ones first.
Sorry.
We got to separate them. Picks made for the event Rickies cannot be reused by the host who made the pick in the next event Ricky episode. Other hosts can reuse a pick made by someone else at any time. For the annual Rickies, hosts are forbidden from choosing a past pick as an annual pick. Once something is named as an annual pick, that host may not repick that, may not reuse that pick
for an event. That would mean you'd probably also have to read this part anyway. I have realized that as I said it.
For the annual Rickies, hosts are forbidden from choosing, here's what I would say, any pick from the previous calendar year. Because what if I want to use something from 2020?
Any pick they made, or is
they made?
Yeah, this is all just to us. I think it's just locked to our own picks.
Yeah.
Calendar year. Once something is named as an annual pick, that host may not reuse that pick for the next year.
Should I repeat? Other hosts can reuse a pick made by someone else at any time.
I don't think so. I don't know.
Or that could just be a separate line.
Yeah.
So all hosts are allowed.
Man, this is podcasting. Am I right?
It's something.
This is podcasting.
Typing in
right
Google
here.
Docs. This is what. This is how this is how it works behind the scenes. Okay.
All hosts are allowed to reuse a pick made by someone else at any time.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Feel good about that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I do.
All right. So we've taken care of the preamble. We've taken care of reusing picks. So that's done. Now let's look at the flexies.
Yeah. Maybe we want to do this now. I would love one reread of it just to make sure that there aren't any holes before we lock this in.
Let's do that now.
Okay.
So the Rickies preamble. The Rickies is a game connected hosts play before Apple keynotes in the beginning of a new year, trying to predict future events. It is made up of 3 rounds. Each host makes 2 regular picks followed by a risky pick. There are 2 types of Rickies, annual Rickies and keynote Rickies. The winner of the annual Rickies is named the annual chairman and retains the rights to the corresponding Twitter account for the full year. This position is awarded every January. The keynote Rickies winner is named the keynote chairman and retains the rights to the corresponding Twitter account until the next keynote is held. After the Rickies, the hosts play a game called the Flexies. These 2 games have separate but related rules. Please stand for the reading of the rules.
There's 2 things I love there. I love that you've mentioned that. This is very funny. Separate but related rules is funny to me. And then also like codifying the standing. Very good.
Correct regular picks.
This is the rules for the Rickies, right?
Yes.
Rules for the Rickies.
Yeah, rules for the Rickies. Correct regular picks are awarded with 1 point. The language used for regular picks must be finalized and agreed upon recording, and no partial points may be awarded. Correct risky points are worth 2 points, but wrong ones will cause a point.
Risky picks are worth 2 points, not risky points.
Sorry. Correct
risky points are worth 2 picks.
Yes, correct risky picks are worth 2 points, but wrong ones will cause a point to be deducted from that host's total. Picks must have been approved as, quote, risky by the other 2 hosts before the start of the game. Picks made for Keynote Rickies cannot be reused by the host who made the pick in the next Keynote Rickies episode. I'm going to change that. Picks
You've got keynote and event.
for the Keynote Rickies cannot be reused by the host who made the pick for the next keynote.
Okay, picks made for keynote Rickies cannot be reused by the host who made that pick. Or this pick. Made the pick.
Who made that
Picks,
pick?
No, who made them, not that pick. Picks made
who
for
made
Keynote
them.
Rickies cannot be used by the host who made them.
For the next keynote.
For the
I like the personification of the pick. Picks made for keynote Rickies cannot be reused by the host who made them for the next keynote.
For annual Rickies, hosts are forbidden from choosing any pick they made from the previous calendar year.
during the previous.
During the previous calendar year. Once something is named as an annual pick, that host may not reuse that pick for the next year. That's wordy.
For the current calendar year.
Annual picks.
Because if you say in January for the next year, technically it means like 2024.
Who made them for the remainder?
Once something... Wait.
No, get rid of that.
Okay.
Annual picks cannot be reused for the remainder of that calendar year by the host who made them. All hosts are allowed to reuse a pick made by someone else at any time.
Love it.
Yeah.
That's chaos.
Yeah, that's good.
There's some good chaos in there. Wait. There is a slight... Okay, look, again, I just feel like I need to protect against ourselves in the future. At any time, does that mean during the same event? Right? All hosts are allowed to reuse a pick made by someone else at any time. Could mean I could pick Steven's same pick during the same keynote Rickies.
All hosts are allowed to reuse picks made by others in reuse picks from previous games. All hosts are allowed to reuse picks from previous games. All hosts are allowed to reuse picks made by others
From previous games.
from previous games.
All right. All hosts are allowed to reuse picks made by others from previous games. I like that.
Yeah, that clears that up.
Yep.
Good call.
Just chaos.
What if we
man.
all picked the exact same thing one time? Then it's just a coin flip.
We could just round robin the same predictions for the whole year.
See if anyone notices. Scoring is completed during recording and cannot be modified once an episode is complete. In the event of a tie, dice by PCalc must be used in Relay FM mode to pick a winner. Jason Snell has a lifetime ban of flipping any coins in relation to the Rickies, semicolon. Coin flips by Jason on other podcasts are allowed, but are frowned upon.
Yes.
I still want to say, but we judge those hosts.
But are frowned upon and
Judged.
podcast
And publicly shamed.
Yeah, we will know and we will find out and we ridicule you.
coin flips by Jason on other podcasts are allowed, but are frowned upon and subject to public shaming.
Yeah,
Yes.
perfect.
Oh my god.
The order of picks is set by previous performance. For annual Rickies, the winner of the previous year's game goes first. In the case of Keynote Rickies, the winner of the previous game goes first. In both cases, the loser goes last. Winners will be recognized during the closing ceremonies. For Keynote Rickies, the scoring window starts when the event begins and closes when the picks are scored. Any information used in scoring must be publicly verifiable at the time of recording. I kind of feel like the order of picks should be the last paragraph.
I was going to say that paragraph is maybe too long, like longer than it needs to be.
Which one?
The 4 annual Rickies, the winner of the previous year game, go first. In the case of the Keynote Rickies, the winner of the previous game. Like, it's just too much. Like, I don't know if we even need that. Like, the order of picks is set.
Well, it's how we set. Well, we need
by previous performance of the same type or something like that, you know?
the order of picks is set by previous performance. The winner of the previous
Associated game
goes first.
etc.
The loser goes last. The previous loser goes last.
Yeah, it's good to just to note that one in there, you know?
Yeah, because losers capitalize, which is fun. Winners will be recognized during the closing ceremonies.
Love it.
As a reminder, Steven is the current annual chairman. Federico is the current keynote chairman. A Twitter handle is on the line. Past results can be seen at rickies.co and rickies.net. The former also has a page about how to manage your own scorekeeping at home.
I think I would like to add to the Twitter handle is on the line part, because it's way more than that now. There are trophies, you know?
Well, let's just get rid of that because we talked about the Twitter
Yeah.
account earlier.
We don't need to do that anymore.
Okay. So we feel good about all that?
I think so.
We can do the flexies. This will be quick, I think, because this is a much simpler game.
Okay.
This is the preamble. The Flexies is a game held after each edition of the Rickies. It consists of a series of additional picks made in relation to the upcoming Apple event or year. Scoring is completed separately from the main game, but like the Rickies, the order of picks is set by the results of the previous event, and ties will be broken using dice by pcalc. Please lie down as the rules are read.
Please lie down. I forgot about that.
Please lie down as the rules are read. The Flexi rules. Host must make a minimum of 5 Flexi picks. Each correct pick is awarded with 1 point. Wrong picks do not remove any points, and no partial points may be awarded. The winner is determined by comparing the percentage of correct Flexis made by each host. So this used to be like a ratio or something else. This is, I think, simpler. You just compare the percentage of correct to incorrect.
Yeah, because we were doing percentages anyway. That was how we would work that out.
Yeah, we weren't really doing what the document said. While there are no Twitter handles on the line in the Flexis, the winner can use their chosen title as long as they are the winner. Federico is Prince Flexi, Mike has chosen Duke of Flexington, and Steven is the Attorney General Flexi.
Mm-hmm.
Loser of the Flexis must compensate the winner of the Flexis by donating to a charity of the winner's choice.
So a charity.
The amount of the donation is $25 per wrong Flexi made by the loser. The money must be donated on air.
This one is much more simple.
Simple.
Yeah.
Very little changed here. It was just the percentage instead of the ratio. Cool. So are we good?
I think we are.
I mean, look, let's be real. Okay. We make changes to this document all the time.
Yeah, but this is like a clean slate. Like, this is where we're going to...
This is clearer, but we're going to change it.
This is, as some developers would say, version 2022.3.
Just
Right?
made it in on the
Mhm.
0.3, you know?
Yeah,
Mhm. Yeah. Okay. So this is the current Bill of Rickies. It will be shared in our Google Doc with y'all, and then of course on the Bill of Rickies page over at rickies.co.
Yep, and Wikipedia.net too.
Wikipedia, all
Everyone's
those
gonna pick
places.
it up.
Well, I think that does it for this week. Thank you so much for listening to Connected. If you want to get in touch with feedback or follow-up, you can send us an email. There's a link there in the sidebar on our show notes page. This week, you can find that at relay.fm/connected/391. You can find us online. You can find Mike on Twitter as IMYKE. Mike hosts a bunch of shows here on Relay FM. Anything you want to plug?
No.
Mike is doing nothing.
I'm taking the week off.
Okay.
No, I'm not.
Is that
really.
true?
No, it's not. But, you know.
You can find Federico on Twitter at Viticci, VITICCI, and he is the editor-in-chief of MacStories.net. Anything fun coming up over there?
I'm just gonna say we're announcing like this major thing on Friday. Not an April Fool's thing. We don't do those. It's all real. And I have my announcement all set to go for Friday, and that's all I'm gonna say for now.
I'm just saying, that's what it sounds like someone would say if they were
No.
going to April for you. You know?
No. It's a real thing that I spent money on because we needed to build some infrastructure. So yeah, it's all real. Yeah.
People
And,
spend money on April Fool's jokes.
No, look, you can believe what you want, but this is like real
You brought it
work.
up, you know? So
No, because some people are gonna say, "Oh, this isn't." No, we're doing this thing, and I am super, super pumped. So, and you guys know what it is. So
yeah, it's not an April Fool's joke. Unless the April Fool's joke is on me and Steven.
That's right.
no, it's not. There's multiple people involved. So
Maybe you're playing a trick on all of them.
no. Oh God, this is not some long con that I'm doing here. It's
Sounds like
Yeah, but I
Nice.
mean, you have a history here.
Yes.
So
Yes, look, you're not my mom. I'm only pranking my mom, okay? I'm not pranking you guys or my readers. So,
I'm excited for people to see that. Stay tuned to Mac Stories.
thank you.
You can find me on Twitter as ISMH. I write at 512pixels.net and host Mac Power Users here on Relay FM. Go check that out.
What have you got coming up, Steven?
What do I have coming up? I have a Kickstarter that'll launch at some point.
Like in the next week?
No, not next week.
All right.
I have a Mac Studio coming. That's exciting. I don't know. Just regular work stuff.
You see, sometimes there isn't an answer, right?
Yeah, but like you always have some keyboard stream you're excited about.
Yeah,
or,
but I
you
don't
know.
want to just, I like to just pepper them in occasionally. Otherwise, people
Okay.
get bored of it, you know?
Okay.
can't give them-
I'm just going to stop asking. And if you have something, you can just interject it.
I'm never going to do
Oh.
that. So it's one way or the other, really.
I will just ask randomly.
Well, here's the thing. You always know when I've got something going on.
That's
so
not
just
true.
ask me then. What do you,
That's not
what?
always true.
Like what?
Sometimes you have secret things.
That's true. But then they're secrets,
If you love Connected and for some reason you want more of it, you can join Connected Pro, get a longer ad-free version of the show each and every week. There are join buttons at the top of relay.fm/connected. Thank you so much for your support to our members. It means the world to us. Also, big thanks to our sponsors, Squarespace, Capital One, and Memberful. And until next time, guys, say goodbye.
Arrivederci.
Cheerio.
Bye, y'all.